All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us here today. My name is Kevin Davis. I am the channel sales manager here at Alertis Technologies. First of all, I'd like just to thank everybody at Convergint for the great partnership that we do have with you guys, and hope to work with you guys a lot, coming years and going forward with everything. So today, we have a presentation entitled Building the Self-Driving System. We're going to talk about integrating different security and facility systems into a mass notification network. So that way, we can reach everybody when an emergency happens, when something happens, we need to internally notify our employees about, we're going to talk about automating the emergency response as much as you can to, again, be able to reach people very quickly and very effectively in the event of an emergency. Let's go ahead and get started. We have an agenda for today, a pretty quick agenda here. I always like to start out with a little background about who Alertus Technologies is as a company, who we are, where we came from, where we're at today. We're then going to discuss some principles of mass notification. Mainly today, we're going to focus on unified mass notification, how that would work. And we're also going to talk about different layers of emergency notification, how we can integrate those different layers into the system. So again, we can reach as many people as possible in the shortest amount of time during an emergency. From there, we're going to take a little bit of a deep dive into our solutions, talk about our integrations and our, how we fit into the, emerging intelligent building initiatives that a lot of companies are starting to put out there. And then, of course, we're going to talk about one of the main pillars of our system, which is one touch, or even I'll go over with you one that I like to call a zero touch point of activation that I think we can all take advantage of as well. And then, of course, a little time for Q&A at the end. So to start out, again, just a little background about Alertis. We have been in business since 2002. Actually, we're celebrating our 19th anniversary this summer. We are headquartered in Beltsville, Maryland, which, if you guys are familiar with the DC and Baltimore areas at all, it's really about halfway between the two cities, Interstate 95, so in South Central Maryland there. We got our start out in education, but however, in the years we've been in business, we do serve now over 2,000 customers worldwide. We do deploy globally. And we've branched out to serve really, I always like to say, if there's some kind of need for any kind of mass notification system or an upgrade to a current system, there's something that we can do to help out everybody, whether it's, an industrial facility. We do a lot of work with the military and the federal government as well. State and local governments is becoming a bigger part of our customer base. We do a lot of work with office environments, as well as still, we do have our original client base, which is schools, whether it's K-12, university environments. We do serve those as well. So the first thing we're going to talk about here today is the principle of unified mass notification. And where this principle comes into play when you're talking about an emergency notification system is going to be, really the overall goal of any kind of emergency mass notification system is to reach as many people as possible that are going to be affected by the event that you're informing them about, and giving them, things like what's going on, what they need to do, maybe where they need to go, as part of what that action that you're asking them to take is. And really with unifying a mass notification system together from different systems that we probably already have in place or might be looking to put in place, unifying those systems under a common point of activation, a common central system, is really an integral part of being able to reach as many people as possible in the quickest amount of time. Here we have different individual components of the unified system. A big one that we're all going to see, I think, with a lot of customers we talk to about mass notification is, I have a system that sends out a text and, makes a phone call to everybody's cell phones or even some of the desk phones in the environment. We know that's a great system, and we're not going to eliminate that system from the discussion here, but we're going to tie it in to a more unified system because, for example, here, I work with a lot of industrial facilities where you talk to them about a system like this, and they're like, well, the people on the factory floor aren't even allowed to have their phones on. They have to put them in their locker at the beginning of their shift, and they can't get them until their break. Automatically sending a text to that person's cell phone is not going to do anything to reach them. So, that person's automatically kind of kicked out of that recipient group of that notification system. Other things too. I know if let's say I'm giving this presentation right now, let's say it lasts an hour, I'm probably going to open up my email inbox to 30 or 40 emails. And, if one of those is an event that, being able to respond in 1 to 2 minutes or less is integral to me safely getting out of the building I'm in right now, then that's a big deal. It takes me an hour to get that email. Other things too, a lot of people at work aren't allowed to have their social media up either on their phone or on their computer. So a post coming in like that might be missed, or it might be blocked by certain, restrictions on their computer settings during the work hours. And again, a lot of these systems we're going to get into today, that why we need to unify and why we need to fill in certain gaps is because if there's any visitors that are, either on campus, in the building, maybe a visitor contractor, somebody like that day, it's just not going to reach them. Because again, they don't have a device that's going to be on that company's network because they're not a normal employee of that company. So it's going to be something they're going to have trouble reaching. Again, if we break some of these other things up, ADA compliance is another big thing we like to kind of make sure that we're covering in all of our deployments. Things like overhead public address systems, outdoor sirens, voice or tone only systems really is not going to account for anybody that might be hearing impaired on site that day. And with the inverse of that, if we have a strobe and light system to alert people to certain events, if there's any visually impaired people, that's another issue that we need to account for as well by having a layer of the notification that has a sound only or a sound component to it. So we're talking about systems like this and unifying them. What we're talking about is, bringing them together under certain hallmarks here, such as a single point of activation. Again, like I said earlier, for ADA compliance and also just to reach everybody, whether they're, an employee or not at the company or they're just on site for the day, we're going to send that notification out through as many pathways, as many modes as we can. So that way, again, hearing impaired people can see it, visually impaired people can hear it, people that aren't part of the company, that don't have company devices in front of them, can see it or hear it as well. We're going to talk about leveraging existing infrastructure because, of course, a lot of our customers are going to have this already in place. So instead of being a rip and replace system every time, we can tie into what they already have and then build on it. And really, ultimately, the hallmark of any mass notification system is time. We're going to save as much time as possible from the point that event is discovered, that event is identified, to the point where everybody has reached, safety or done everything that they can to make themselves safe during that situation. And with our unified mass notification system, we really have seen results that we can discuss, at another time going further in some of the results and studies we've done with it, where, we've been able to save customers significant amounts of time in their response to certain events. And, in the process as well, most likely have saved people's lives during those events. So when we talk about our system and adopting, an Alertus system, we're having a conversation about putting in a new system or adding to an existing notification system someone might have in place. I always like to break it up into these 3 points, these three pillars of our system. The first one is going to be integrations. We're going to take a look at what is already deployed on site as far as network systems, device groups, things like computers, desk phones, existing speaker or PA systems, fire panels, things like that we can tie into. Not only is it going to make the project as budget friendly as we can, but it's also going to allow people to be alerted of situations over devices they're familiar with. From there, as we spoke about earlier, we're trying to unify these systems as much as possible. After we've kind of exhausted all those different integration pathways, there's always going to be some sort of gap left. There's going to be an area where you can't have your cell phone. There's going to be an area where the people don't have a desktop or laptop computer in front of them at that moment. And, there's always going to be areas like hallways, common rooms, where people maybe won't have any of those devices, including, maybe there's no PA system or speaker system out in those common areas. So from there, after we've talked about integrations, we're going to talk about some of our devices that we can put into the system to fill in any gaps that still exist. Once again, integration pathways have been exhausted. And then finally, we're going to take all the integrations, we're going to take all the, hardware solutions that we've proposed for the facility or for the enterprise, and we're going to unify them under single points of activation. This is going to allow one person to activate the system if they need to. It's going to allow a single action, such as the push of a button, a click on your keyboard, a click of your mouse, to send that alert out to as many or as few people as need to be alerted to that specific event. And really what I always like to say is kind of our little, my little elevator pitch for Alertis, my little, if I have 10 seconds to describe what we do, I'm always going to say our goal for any project we undertake is to use these systems here to ensure that if something happens, whoever needs to be notified and take action to that situation is going to know what's going on and what they need to do within 20 to 30 seconds, no matter what devices they do or don't have in front of them at that moment. This page here is just going to be kind of a high-level overview of some of the different systems we can integrate with, some of the different devices we can add into the system as well. Down here again, it highlights some of the different activation methods. Again, whether it's a push of some kind of panic button, the use of an app on your cell phone to activate the system remotely. Maybe you're off-site and you're responsible for setting that system off. Hotkeys on your desktop. We can ingest different RSS, cat feeds. Integrate with different other systems to set the system up as well. And then some of our devices, we can integrate with things like mobile radios, desk phones, desktop and laptop computers. We do interface with the fire system. We'll actually go into a little bit deeper of a dive here with that in a minute. Really, my rule of thumb is, for the most part, any device that has a screen or a speaker on it, it's at least worth taking a look at to see if we can integrate with the system. When there are gaps as well, we have devices like our alert beacon, which is a visual audible alerting device. We do have indoor speakers and PA systems that we can set up for customers as well. We have things like marquee displays, which just enhance the alert beacon's visual propagation of that alert over large areas. And of course, for outdoor notification, we do have our own mobile and fixed high-powered speaker arrays that can send tones and voice messages for up to a mile or so in any direction from the side of the speaker. So another thing we're starting to see a lot of come up here is this idea of intelligent buildings. Integrating different systems, that were at one point disparate systems and buildings, and kind of integrating them together to make, again, what they call an intelligent building. This heavily utilize the principles of IoT, which is something that our system uses a lot of as well. And it's again using something like life safety fire systems tied together, any kind of building automation, whether it's heating and cooling and HVAC systems, things like camera systems, access control. We're going to try to unify all these together, again into one giant system, so that way, multiple things can be done from single interfaces to control multiple different points of contact and points of reaching out to people in that building. So one thing Alertus is starting to offer now is integration with a lot of these life and fire safety systems. The big one that we do and we have done for a while now is the fire panel interface. The most robust integration we can do this is through our FACP, or Fire Alarm Control Panel interface. This interface will actually not only take activations, sensor trips, pull station pulls, and even things like trouble and error messages, which it'll just send out to someone to deal with the system rather than causing a building-wide evacuation. It'll actually apply technology to that to transform the coded message into a deliverable alert message, and then send it out over preset communication pathways. Again, whether it's alert beacons, computers, speaker systems, whatever it's set to send that to. A good use case for that, again, like I just mentioned here, somebody pulls the pull station, a sensor detects a fire somewhere in the building. It's not only going to localize and say, hey, here's where the fire is detected, or here's where the pull station was pulled, but it's going to say, I'm going to send this alert then out to these following device groups in the building to tell people, okay, there's been a fire detected, in the south hall, the second floor. You need to get out of the building immediately, but please, make sure that you avoid that area on your way out. We have other methods to take over or to integrate with fire panels as well. A simple integration we can do, if we have an alert beacon already proposed in the design or want to add an extra one in, we can just set up a dry contact to where if something activates the fire panels, we can activate our system as well, just kind of a secondary system or redundant system, and another pathway to alert people that something's going on and they need to get out of the building. If the fire speakers are voice evac capable, we can tie a text-to-speech box as well into the line-level audio input on the central fire panel and utilize those voice evac speakers to deliver other alert messages in clear voice to the people in the building. Just again, a simple kind of high-level technical overview of how that system would work. Again, a fire happens, either a pull station is pulled, a fire sensor is tripped. That's going to be sent to the fire panel, which will then activate our either alert beacon, our FACP module. That will again go through an alert beacon or close a contact and tell the system, okay, this message has come out from the fire panel. I need to now send that message out to the following groups of Alertus endpoints. So another layer of notification we're going to talk about today is personal notification. We said earlier, a lot of times we want to kind of enhance this system, but this system as well does have a role in any kind of layered or unified mass notification system. Personal notification is going to, again, be personal devices. Things like putting an app on your cell phone, to receive and send alerts if you're not on site or if you're, in an area where this is the only device you're going to have with you. We can send messages out, whether through VoIP or SIP integrations, to desk phones as well. We can take over desktop screens and laptop screens. We can also make these devices speak to you through text-to-speech if the speakers are turned on during that event. This is probably our most commonly utilized product is our desktop override. And we have, what I'll get into here in a minute, and when we go into tracking, we have some cool ways that we can identify people that are in buildings for, just for the day, things like that, in other buildings, if they have a laptop with them. Again, to talk about building automation, this is another component of our, intelligent building initiative here. Again, like I was saying, a lot of buildings now are automating their heating, their ventilation systems, air condition, and a lot of through the IoT system as well. A good use case for this, for Alertus tying into this, and I've actually had a couple other examples of this using temperature sensors and things like that as well. But this one here would be at the end of the school day, K-12 campus experience a lockdown. We recognize the lockdown situation was activated and communicate with the building automation system to ensure the HVAC system maintains its full capacity level instead of powering down and heating and maybe heating or cooling the building up to a certain temperature at the end of the day. We're going to make sure that temperature is still comfortable for all the students and staff that are locked into that building, because again, we don't want to make an already stressful situation any more stressful of having it get up to 85 degrees or down to 50 degrees, depending on the time of year inside that building. Other things we can do to integrate with systems like this, from personal experience, we can integrate with things at maybe a food processing plant, like refrigerator temperature sensors. If they go outside of a certain range, we can have it close the contact and notify a key group of stakeholders of that company that, hey, the refrigerator, the freezer has gone out of its acceptable temperature range. Please go check it out right now so that, the product stored in there doesn't go bad. We can do things like that as well. Another big one that we're starting to get into that we can do in here, and I'll actually show you a couple of videos in a second here of our integration with Axis specifically, is we can tie into camera systems. We can use the camera systems and their software to, basically activate the system through their activation points, things like facial recognition, gunshot and sound detection. And we can also, on our end as well, utilize things like Alertus panic buttons and other event triggers on our end to activate the camera system as well. This one, though, I think it's easier to show you. We have a couple videos here. It'll take a few minutes to show you, but the first one here is, again, using Axis's motion detection software. It is detecting, you see here in a second, this is the feed from our corporate office with one of our cameras set up in the hallway. And, let me get the sound on here as well.
Surveillance cameras. Your security personnel can be alerted to any unauthorized access with a desktop notification, linking them to a camera feed of where the motion was detected. The alert system can also activate a text-to-speech notification warning the intruder that they are in a restricted area and that they need to vacate immediately.
Warning, you are entering a restricted area. Turn around immediately.
So again, you saw there when the motion detection, actually, that was a good friend of mine and one of our sales engineers, Ilya Dobrednev. He was pretending to be an intruder in our hallway. He tripped the camera by walking in front of it. It was able to, one, send a link to security to pull up the camera feed to see, hey, there actually is somebody in that area that we need to respond to. But also, was able to trigger one of our indoor TTS speakers to basically give a please get out of here right now message to Ilya and tell him, you're in a restricted area, just in case maybe it was a visitor or contractor that didn't know, and, they can leave the area immediately. So another one here, similar, is just going to be a Alertus arrest button is going to be pressed, and it will also send a link to the nearest camera and the feed to security.
Perfectly complements the Axis Communications surveillance camera system. A simple yet effective integration is with the Alertus activation button. When the activation button is triggered, your security desk will receive an Alertus desktop notification linking your security personnel to a camera feed of your activation button.
So again, a simple integration. That button's just going to close the contact and bring up that camera feed, to the camera that's associated with that specific button. So that way security can get eyes on a situation and say, oh, that was just somebody, maybe in a school, a kid hit the button by accident or somebody bumped into it, or, oh, there actually is a threat in that area. We need to respond right away or get law enforcement involved. Again, whatever the next steps would be for that. The other ones here we can do on the other end is actually integrating with Axis's activation methods. The first one here would be to monitor different sensors. In this case, I believe it's a gunshot sensor.
Integrating your Alertus mass notification system with the Axis Communications line of security cameras can help your security team get eyes on a situation fast. Any sensors connected to the Alertus system, such as smoke and fire detectors and AED cabinets, can trigger your Access Communications camera system. Alertus will send your security desk a desktop notification linking a camera feed to the trip sensor, giving your security team immediate eyes on the situation and informing them of the best course of action.
All right, it's actually, this video is actually the Alertus integrated devices again, fire sensors, AED cabinet openings are a big one too. This would also be true for access control with door locks and access points. This one here is where the Axis gunshot detection system is actually integrated with the cameras and sending an alert out.
Integrating the Alertus Unified Mass Notification System with your Access Communications surveillance cameras streamlines your facility's security. In the event of a gunshot in your facility, the Access camera's internal microphones are able to detect it and activate your Alertus system. The detected gunshot from your Access Communications camera can activate your Alertus notification endpoint. The Alertus system can also then send your security desk a desktop notification that includes a link to the camera feed where the gunshot was detected, allowing your security personnel to react to the threat in seconds.
So in a situation like that, where we're actually integrating with a sensor like that, that's going to pick something up and automatically send an alert out. And in addition to that, the fire system we just talked about would be another example of this. This is something I mentioned earlier in the presentation. With our big thing is a single touch point of activation. These actually take it a step further. They're what I like to call zero touch points of activation, in which there's actually no human interaction involved with the system, whether you're talking about a fire panel integration or an integration with a camera or gunshot detection or some kind of other sensor system like this. I think that's a really great thing as well, because again, these can activate the system in situations like, if there's an admin group that's supposed to set the system off or something like that, and they're not there, or they're gone for the day, we can still get an alert out to people that may or may not still be in that building and keep them safe, with an automated integration like that. Actually brings me to my next point here, which is access control. What we do right now with access control to try to stay as kind of brand agnostic as we can is we're going to actually set up through either an alert beacon or an IP relay switch dry contacts with the access points and with the door locks. This allows us to do a couple different things with it. The first being to, act as a redundant system for the door locks. If the system of doors was to fail, we were still running, we could close contacts and cause doors to lock or unlock, for different emergencies, maybe lock an intruder into a certain area of the building, unlock all the doors in the event of an evacuation so that people can get out no matter, what their card will let them have access to. They can just get out to their easiest point of egress from the building. The other thing we can do with that is actually to monitor certain doors that are supposed to be left closed or secure doors. we have have a situation where we did a project based on an access control system at a company's corporate office that actually failed over the weekend due to a lightning strike on the top of the building. It failed to reboot when the backup power came on. So Monday, everybody, including the CEO of the company, came into an office that does contain secure information, by the way, with the doors swinging open and the interior doors to some secure lab facilities unlocked. They now are looking at a system with us where we would tie alert beacons that are already going to be used out in the hall into that system, so that if any of those exterior doors come open after a certain time of day, or the doors to the lab facilities are ever left open or left unlocked for more than 2 minutes, it automatically sends a message to the cell phones and the computers of the CEO, the head of facilities, the head of the labs, and the head of IT to say, hey, based on what just happened, it's likely that your access control system has failed to reboot during a power outage, or something has failed in the system with these blocks. Please immediately report to the office and, basically fix the problem. The other thing we've talked about already today is going to be layered mass notification. We want to make sure that we have all these different layers in here. Things like facility notifications. Again, if we're not at our desk, we don't have a device in front of us, like a computer or phone, we want to make sure those people that are in common areas throughout the facility are going to receive that message as well as quickly as possible. The enterprise and network-based solutions, we want to use existing network devices, computers, phones, to be able to integrate with them and send that message out to as many people as we can in a quick amount of time. Also to communicate enterprise-wide, whether the two buildings or multiple sites are across the street from each other or across the country from each other, we can use common networks to allow our server point to see those devices and still reach out to them. We want to cover, like I said earlier, with our HPSA terminals, we want to cover with a outdoor area as much as we can, so that if people are outside, they need to be alerted as well. We can keep them safe as well. And finally, we want to be able to send alerts to mobile devices, whether that's through a push message, an integration with social media. We want to be able to reach people that may not be on site or in range of an outdoor speaker as well, because sometimes if people are out at lunch, something happens, it's just as important to tell those people not to come back to the office as it is to tell the people in the office to get out. Again, different areas, we've already touched on these as well. Just basically, again, we want to be able to alert any indoor area of the building immediately. We want to also be able to stretch those alerts to outdoors, whether it's a small horn on the roof to alert the parking lot, or something, a 12 to 3,000 watt HPSA tower is going to send alerts that can be heard from a mile away across the college campus. We want to be able to reach people outside. Again, we want to send people's personal device alerts, whether it's a desktop or laptop, computer, a cell phone, or a tablet. We have a way to reach them. And also be able to reach the public. We can integrate with radio and TV broadcasts to send messages out, and we can also have the ability to post to Twitter and other social networks. Outdoor systems, we just spoke about. We can do tones and voice messages, as well as live voice over these systems. We can connect them through radios, through Wi-Fi, through hardwire connections. It's really up to the customer and up to maybe the integrator as well, what the best fit is as far as the wiring and the setup of that system goes based on each deployment. Public, again, we can do things like our cable TV override. We can ingest RSS or CAT feeds to send information out over public domains. We do have an open API, so if other systems want to integrate with us, we can always, we're always willing to integrate with them. And we do offer post to social media as well as part of our alert system. One-touch activation, we explained it again as well, just kind of a slide to show an example of it, whether it's, again, a push button push, integration with a fire station, integration with another software product. We can activate as many or as few devices in our endpoint network as we want, from a single action on the initiation side. We offer multiple one-touch methods, whether it's more for internal communication, which would be sending an alert from your desktop screen, or using a panic button, mounted to the USB port on that desktop or laptop computer, all the way up to, things that could activate the full system. Our graphic user interface, a wall-mounted dry contact button. Again, integrating with the fire alarm is what I call a zero-touch activation, because that will activate the system by itself. If you have certain mainly Cisco IP phones, we can use the keypad on those as a virtual panic device as well. And whether you have the activator or recipient app on your phone, each of them involve giving you some way of sending either a call for help or an alert in from offsite. Again, really a quick overview here. What makes our system different? Really just kind of the breadth and the variety of products we have. Whether it's integrations, whether it's devices we can put into a customer's network. We really can cover all the audible and visual alert pathways you could really think of throughout a building, throughout a campus, in any environment you'd want to look at. We do have dedicated support as well. We have 24/7 dedicated support, live technical support capabilities. We do offer for both integrators and customers one-on-one training. We do have software upgrades. We have 2 big ones biannually, and we do other ones as we need to patch software functionality as well. Functionality, like we've discussed a couple times during the presentation, we do audible and visual. Really, again, to sum this all up, anything that we would, a customer would want us to be able to do, there's usually some way for us to either tie into a system or add something to the system to be able to do it or to be able to reach a group of people. Guys, that's all I've got for you today. Any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. If not, I look forward to working with all you guys. Please feel free to reach out to me at any time. You have my contact information right here. I do see one question here before we leave today. Question is, do you guys work with Everbridge? Absolutely, we do. We integrate 2 ways with Everbridge to where they can activate our products from their interface. We can activate their products from ours. We've had a long and very great relationship with them. So existing Everbridge customers or somebody looking to deploy it is actually a very good potential customer for us as well. On the other side of that too, an existing Alertis customer that wants to adopt a personal notification system like Everbridge would be a good fit for them as well. Everybody, any other questions while we're still here? All right, well, thank you guys very much. Have a wonderful day, and hope to talk to you guys soon.